This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit, Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hi, this is Machiko, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with Machiko.
I love that. Hi, how are you doing, James?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Just getting my day started, so.
Hell yeah. This is usually the time where I ask, what events, what you got coming up next. But you haven't actually been wrestling as of recently, no?
No, I haven't. I decided to step away, indefinitely, as in I'm not sure if I'm going to be coming back. It is a possibility. I do miss it, of course. I just decided to focus on my education, but, of course, I'm still very, I don't know about active in the wrestling community, as in I'm, doing anything per se, but I am, still keeping my eyes on it. I'm still keeping in touch with a lot of my friends I've made over the years and everything like that. So the temptation and the outlets of me coming back are still there. I just don't know if or when that is going to happen at the moment. Like I said, I've just been focusing on my education as of lately. Something I was always told to do in my early 20s by my coaches and everybody I had met with throughout the process of getting the wrestling business. But, I never listened to them. And I kind of am looking back wishing I did. But here I am anyway. And, me doing this interview, honestly, is just I haven't been doing interviews lately. I've had people reach out to me to do interviews, but you might have just met me at the right time. So I was like, you know what? I miss wrestling. I miss the industry. I'm like, I might as well at least do an interview or something to kind of itch that feeling. And, I'm happy to be here.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure it feeds that itch for your fans as well. That's waiting for some new wrestling content as well.
Yeah, for sure. I've been doing my best to try to stay active on social media. I am a bit more, Facebook's a bit more private, kind of. I do have about 5,000 friends on there, so some of my wrestling fans are on my Facebook, but I usually am active on my Instagram account. My Twitter, or X, whatever they call it now, I'm not really active on that, to be honest. But my Instagram, I try to stay active on it more lately, just because I've had people just kind of wanting to see how I'm doing. And I know that there are a lot of wrestling fans and people in wrestling that realize there's life outside of wrestling, and they want to see just how I'm doing. So I've been trying to do better at that as well, and I've been very open about my education journey, entering into the legal field, because that's what I am going to school for. So Instagram is definitely the best place to keep up and to, be on alert to see if I do end up posting a wrestling fire or promo and all that when I decide to come back in, if I ever do.
And where can we find you on your social medias?
So my Instagram and my Twitter are both the same handle. It's Machi_slams. MACHI_SLAMS. Don't think I'm going to change it anytime soon. Other than that, it's Machiko-san on my Facebook. But again, a lot of that isn't really public, so that's probably just, you'll see some public stuff on there pertaining other wrestling projects and stuff in the past, but I don't really post actively to the public on that page. But yeah, the Instagram, I would say, is the best resource for sure.
And we could still find merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees, correct?
I still have shirts on there. They're a bit old. I do have graphics I plan on putting up there. just whenever the time's right. But I do have new shirts that I may release soon.
Alright, and you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all her social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, well, let's get into it. Your last match, according to Cage Match, was against one Morgan Mercy. Were you aware that that was going to be your last match, or was it after that match you decided to kind of take a step back?
It was kind of after. It was, yeah, it was a bit after that match, mainly because I was so busy during the summertime with school, because I decided to do summer courses, which are essentially like 14, 15-week courses crammed into 4 weeks, and I did both months. In that month in particular, I had 2 classes, which for a normal semester is not a lot, but for a summer course, my college only lets you do 2 at most, so that means the workload was very heavy. So I honestly just kind of got sidetracked with that. And I'll be a bit vulnerable and honest here. You know, I'm one of those people that thinks that, like, I'm just trying to follow the path with the least resistance. And that whole year, the first 6 months in particular, but even shortly after, I mean, I wouldn't even say first 6 months of that year. I think it was like a few months from the previous year leading into that year. And then about almost the whole year after that, I had the hardest time getting somebody to make me some wrestling gear. The gear that I have are too big for me now. The 2-piece I wore in that match, for Morgan's match, like they fit enough, but it's an old set of gear, and on top of that, I just wanted something new. I wanted to like rebrand myself just a little bit, and I had the hardest time. One girl I wanted to go through, and initially, you know, I had to wait a while, and it finally came to a point where she was just honest with me and refunded my money and was like, I'm really busy. And I think she ended up getting, I didn't drop a name on purpose, because I don't want to make her look bad, honestly, because she was honest with me and gave me my money back, and I'm completely happy for her. I think she ended up getting a job with the WWE doing their gear. So I think she just got really busy with, like, you know, obviously stuff that's gonna put her in a better place. So I hold no hard feelings against her. But it was upsetting. You know, she does really great work, and, you know, it was about 5 or 6 months of my time. So it really bummed me out. But then I went to somebody else who, for about 3 or so months, he led me with false promises, saying, oh, I'll get photos of my progress when I get to my shop, I kept, like, you know, breadcrumbing me and, like, leading me on, and I'm just like, okay, you're not sending me any photos, like, I just want my money back. And that, like I said, it took maybe 3-4 months, and then after that, I got with somebody, and they, you know, and I think I was maybe already kind of, like, mentally checked out, so I didn't do my best at, like, holding this person accountable and, like, keeping up with them. But, like, for me, I got exhausted, and I'm just like, you know what, like, the summer's really busy with school. I think I'm just going to focus on that, and that's just all I've been doing, is just focusing on my school. I just feel like if for me, like, if getting wrestling gear was as difficult as it was, like, why am I going to keep stressing about that? And, you know what I mean? And plus, like, my job situation too, on top of it all just came crumbling about 4 or 5 months after my match with Morgan. And so it's all just personal stuff, honestly. It's nothing to do with the wrestling business in general. It's nothing to do with how I feel towards the wrestling business or anything like that. Definitely nothing personal against Morgan. I love wrestling her, so she did not do anything that made me say like, she did not do anything that made me say fuck wrestling, like, I'm done. Like, she was awesome. You know, I've wrestled her a handful of times, and she's great. So I'm just wanting to make that clear. It was all just a personal decision and what was best for my life at the time.
All right, and I'm sure that at this point she's probably saying, yeah, I'm the one that retired Machiko.
Yeah, no. You know what? If she wants to say that, honestly, she can. I don't care. Like, I love her that much. She's a great talent. I remember I was actually there in our first in-ring lesson at MPX is where she trained at. And, just seeing how well she's doing and just how good of a person she is. Like, she deserves all the flowers that get thrown at her because she's awesome. So if she wants to go ahead and say that, honestly, she has my permission. I don't. I really don't.
And shout out to Morgan, a friend of the show as well.
Yes.
Morgan, a good time. Not so much of a good time, when it comes to in-ring wise, is one Erica Torres, arguably one of the hardest hitters. What was that match like, being in the ring with her?
Erica Torres, that match happens. I know I'm pretty positive I've wrestled her in like scramble type matches before, but that singles match I'm pretty sure you're looking at was my first match back since the pandemic. And that was a really fun show. That was MPX's. It was like their Texas and Oklahoma themed wrestling show. They did it the same weekend as the Texas OU like big football game we have here, the Cotton Bowl every year. So yeah, that was a really fun show. That was a really fun match. Yeah, no, for sure. I know she's had some personal issues too, where she's had to step back and everything like that. And so every time she's in the ring, that's always a good thing. Not just for her, but her fans and stuff. But yeah, no, that I absolutely agree with you. She's a hard hitter. She's definitely a challenge. She's definitely more along like my style too, which I like. I feel like her and I had a good one that time for sure.
Now, one of the honors you had was wrestling for the NWA Women's title. Obviously one of the longest tenured, one of the more prestigious women's titles, in pro wrestling. What did it mean to you to wrestle for that championship?
To wrestle for any championship, in my opinion, whether it's large or small, is always an honor. For somebody to put me in that position to, represent the company and everything like that. And, like I said, it to me, it's, while it does make it makes me feel like my hard work is looked at and it's appreciated, and to be put in that position, it's always a blessing. But I treat it just like any other match, I just try to go in, have a good time, keep myself safe, keep everybody else in the match safe. And, it's just an honor in general, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, can you tell us about that time you wrestled Britt Baker on AEW Dark?
Oof. What's crazy is I just graduated with my first degree, and the graduation was held at the same arena as that match was in.
Oh wow.
And and I haven't been there since. That was back that was in December of 2019. That was AEW's first pretty much for their first time in Dallas, and that was their first time on the road since they developed as a company. And I was called up as one of two women from the DFW area to appear, and then 4 other men were there as well, because that's what they had requested, was 4 men and 2 women. And when they called for me to go against her, I was happy and shocked, but I was happy. And because I'm always humble, I don't ever expect to just have something handed to me, right, just for showing up. I'm always there, just hoping for the best, but expecting the worst, just because I'm there with another woman who has done great things as well. So it's like, if they had picked her, I wouldn't have been upset. I would have totally understood. But they picked me, and it was nerve-wracking, of course, because that is absolutely the biggest crowd I've ever wrestled in front of. And Britt's a sweetheart, and Dustin was the one that was our agent for that match. So yeah, and he helped us put it together and everything like that. And I of course, just the whole time I'm thinking back in my head, like, you just can't mess this up. Like, because to go out there and hearing my name in the crowd, because like, DFW has a huge wrestling following, so we have plenty of wrestling promotions here in DFW, and so a lot of those fans obviously have seen me at 2, 3, 4 shows. To hear that was, it was just mind-blowing to me, and it was a great experience, honestly. And my favorite part of it all, honestly, was like when I came back through the curtains after it was done. I was teared up because I was just so overwhelmed and so happy, and both Cody and Dustin Rhodes were right there, and like they saw me crying. They're like, "Everything good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just overwhelmed." And like I'm one of those, like, I keep it together, but if you like hug me or if you're there for me, I just start crying. And so that's what happened. And and they're like, "You did a great job," and they just reassured me everything was great, and she was happy with it too. And to me, it was an awesome experience, and it was very unfortunate that a couple months later is when the pandemic happened, and that absolutely derailed the wrestling business as a whole. But it definitely derailed the momentum I was going on, for sure. But yeah, it was a great time.
Was that a moment you took in the moment, or is it something that kind of sits in afterwards, like, wow, I did this? It really sits in afterwards, because I'm one of those, like, I will be so anxious and nervous before the match, but the moment I step out, it's like nothing exists. Like, my anxieties go away. I don't really feel anxious too much in the ring. Even if there's like a little hiccup, I tend to recover quickly. Like, in the ring, it's like my mind is at a whole new place. And then when I get back into the locker room, and then it all wears off again. Like, the adrenaline is really, it really stabilizes my mind a bit, to be honest. And yeah, so it's definitely opportunities like that. It hits me afterwards. Sounds like you have that ultra instinct going on when you hit the ring.
Yeah, I mean, I think just, with the years of experience, it just kind of, there's certain things that just, you could try to tell people, when you're training them or whatnot, if you're trying to, like, if somebody asks you for advice, you could always try to, like, you always tell them, like, slow down in the ring, or don't overthink in the ring, or do this to recover. But it's like, you can tell people that all day, but I feel like it's the experience that really gets people to do that. And it just clicks with people after a certain period. It's like, they don't necessarily go in after hearing that the next match, or at least it's not how it worked out for me. You don't just go in the next match, hear all the advice, and just be able to do it immediately. Like, it's something that you keep in your head, that you try to work on, but then eventually it just clicks, and then it's like, and then that's it. And then you're good, and then you can start, focusing on other things and whatnot. But yeah, for me, it's like, it's just one of those things that clicked over the years, because I remember back in the day being like embarrassed in the ring to, like, if I'm training in the ring during a session or something, a seminar, like, I used to be like embarrassed selling, because I'm like, oh, I have all these people watching me, like, in a quiet area, just selling. And now I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'll sell, like, if I'm in a training session on a Wednesday night at the ring or whatever, and like, I will sell, I'll scream, I just stop caring, It's just that comfortability that really just takes time to get to.
And I do have to ask, being backstage for AEW, how was the catering?
It was good. It was great. Like I said, I graduated in that same arena this past weekend, and I remember, like, the students, like, the graduates that were checking in, they were checking in the same room as the catering was, and it just, like, just kind of brought me back to that day. But the catering was good, the food was good. It's nice to see that, the wrestlers are well taken care of. Catering in general is a fun experience, because I get to, like, mingle and hang out with, my friends who are on AEW that I hadn't seen in a while. And of course, it being in Dallas, a lot of them were eager to sit with us extras, because, like, I remember Sammy Guevara was one of the people that sat with us, because, he's a Texas guy, and right. We all haven't really talked to him in a while. So it was good to, like, talk to him. And You know, it's a fun experience for extras to be able to sit with the catering, and as long as somebody doesn't ruin it for everybody else, of course. But it's a fun experience for sure.
Who's ruining catering?
Wait, who's what?
Who's ruining catering?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I've heard stories of like extra talent doing absurd things that, ruin it for the rest of us, right? Because it's like when you're booked as an extra, you're not booked as a wrestling fan, you're booked as a professional. And
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, you can't disturb the talent. You can't go up and try to talk to Vince McMahon or Triple H, or, in AEW's case, you can't go and ambush like Jericho or Tony Khan. Like, you can't, do those things, right? Like, you just you move when you're told to move. Otherwise, you just, chill and just be professional. And it's like, some people, I guess, can't do that. But I mean, it's very few stories I've heard of anyway. For the most part, I've never experienced it in person. Anytime I've done any extra talent work for either AEW, WWE, like, luckily the group of people I've been with, we've all just been grateful and just happy to be there, and treated as such. We don't try to take advantage of the opportunity.
Okay. Now, another experience you had is you actually got to travel to the UK to wrestle. What was that experience like? And what were some of the differences you saw wrestling there compared to Texas?
My 2 trips out to London were amazing. Just want to shout out to Declan and Bobby Horn, actually, Sermo. They both made that experience possible, and I could never repay them for that. It was just what anybody would expect. It's like that was my first. Well, I wrestled in Mexico across the border, but like, I never actually, like, being in Texas, going across the border isn't the most difficult thing. But yeah, it was definitely my first like international experience. And I mean, it's the wrestling fans out there, honestly, like, they weren't that much different than the wrestling fans I've come across here. They just have accents. That's it. They were super respectful. I did run into a couple of fans that I ended up having on my social media for years, and when they told me their names and I looked at them, I was like, wait, like, like, you start to remember certain faces on like social media when they interact with your stuff over time. And so it was really cool being able to meet some of them for the very first time. One of which was actually a sponsor of the show, and he actually got me out there for the second time back in February of 2020. And I actually was just talking to him like a couple months ago, like, caught up with him and everything, was trying to like get him to work with some of my friends and everything, because he was trying to help, bring out more women out there. But anywho, to meet those people and everything was great. That particular sponsor, he was going to bring me back out to Amsterdam because BEW was going to run in Amsterdam of November of 2020, and I had that plan set up, everything. Good thing he didn't buy the ticket yet because the world shut down. So
Right.
yeah, 2020 was very hard for me, honestly, but at least I got to visit London one last time before, nobody else could really travel from pretty much the rest of that year. It was a wonderful experience. I always tell people, like, that was my biggest motivator in wrestling, is just to be able to travel. It's the one thing that my late dad, always instilled in my sister and I, was just to travel and to go see the world. He always said that Texas was flat and boring, but he was like a Seattle guy. He ended up living in Seattle a lot because of the mountain stuff. Anywho, he always instilled in us to just like travel and go see the world, and wrestling has definitely done that for me. Well beyond what I expected when I got into the wrestling industry, and being able to go out to London, not just once, but twice. I mean, I take that with pride, it was a great experience.
All right. Now, wrestling in Texas, there is one name that does come up a lot in women's pro wrestling. Somebody you've had a bunch of matches with as well. You got any Angel Blue stories?
Oh, Angel Blue. Yeah, her and I, we we have a story, and I don't want to get too into it, but I mean, as far as like in the ring and stuff like that, I would say we've always put on a good match. I mean, her and I had one singles match in particular a while ago at MPX that I really enjoyed. I bopped her in the face on accident, and that really made me feel bad. And of course she was okay, but I never like doing stuff like that. Like little, I mean, luckily it was a little slip up. She didn't get like injured or anything, but still, I don't like when that happens. But I mean, no, I just, her and I, we butted heads a lot when I first broke in, and I'm happy to say now, like every time I see her, she's doing great. I know she's and again, I haven't really seen or talked to her in a while, so, but I know from what I've heard, she's been on a sober journey too, just like I have. Her daughter, I've been around her daughter a lot. Her daughter's a sweetheart. I see what she's doing. I see what Angel Blue is doing, and she had like a title run at MPX and everything, and I'm happy for her. I know she hasn't had it easy in this business, when I broke in even, but definitely when she broke in. It wasn't an easy time for us women. It was before social media was very rampant. It was before it was before social media was able to hold people accountable for their disgusting actions. And for us women particularly, that affected us the most. And I know she was brought up in that, and to see her overcome it and still have her passion for wrestling and everything like that, and her being a good mother, like, I'm very happy for her, honestly. But yeah, her and I go back to a particular time in this industry where we can share a lot of the same I don't know if traumas are the right word, but it could be, but we share a lot of the same sentiments, because it's like what we broke into, and yeah, I mean, do I have any like specific stories with her? Not really. Otherwise, like, I'm seeing her killing it right now, and I'm happy for her, honestly.
Okay. Well, maybe I would say this is an interesting encounter, to say the least. Can you tell us about meeting Terry Funk and Mick Foley?
Terry Funk, it was, I met him a couple times. He ran a show here in 2016 during WrestleMania weekend when I was at the Cowboy Stadium. He ran a show. It was like a Terry Funk's barbecue. It was the Sunday afternoon of Mania, and the show started like at 11. Terry, he was always super nice to me. Never really, obviously he was always bombarded or busy or something like that, so I never really like talked with him, sat with him. But he was always just class act, just gentleman, super sweet. Nobody ever had a bad thing to say about him. When he had passed away, that really broke my heart, but he definitely made an impact, and especially it being in Texas, he's a huge legend here for sure. Mick Foley, I met him once, and I'm assuming you know this photo. I'm assuming you brought them up because of the picture with them two and my cat.
Yes.
But yeah, I still have, he's upstairs right now, but Mr. Money he's doing good. He's getting old and it's making me sad, but he's good. He's healthy. But Mick Foley, so it was that particular night. He was involved in the main event. I want to say it was Necker Butcher's like retirement match. He was involved in, and it was at Pro Wrestling Syndicate in Jersey. And yeah, Mick Foley, he hung out after hours. We all were, of course, like undressing in the locker room and everything like that. And then like after we all had packed up and all that, we are just all sitting on the couches just talking. And like Mick Foley is sharing stories like left and right. And I wish my memory served me better. Maybe I could like relay one of those stories, but it was just, he was giving us advice and everything like that. And he was just, it's insane just how caliber of a, like, not just a pro wrestler, but as a celebrity as he is, and how much time he takes to just make people feel welcome to be around him. And just like, he is so humble in how he acts and treats people. And was one of my favorite experiences in my wrestling career, was just being able to sit and talk with him, like for that hour and a half or so. Like the people of the venue had to kick us out Like they had to come in the locker room. They're like, hey, like we're closing up here. Y'all gotta go. And we're just like, okay. And we like packed up and we went to a diner afterwards. But man, I still have that picture of him and I together. I've definitely have shown it off over the years. I would love to meet him again at least one more time, even if it means I have to go to a book signing or something. I just like want to say hi to him again. He's just everybody in wrestling needs to meet him and pick his brain at least once in their career. And I wish him the absolute best in his life, and I hope he lives a very long, like fruitful life. He's great. I love him.
Oh yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but that WrestleMania weekend was the start of Fireball Mania, no?
Oh, Lord, you're bringing out all of it. All right, I love it. Yeah, so it was that 2016 WrestleMania weekend. And so how it started was it was at the Terry Funk show. There was like an open bar there, I believe, or something. Anyway, so I'm in the locker room. I just finished up with my match. I want to say the show was actually about over, or at least mostly over. Maybe we're like in the middle of the main event or something. But, you know, my friend Brent was in the locker room, and we had another friend of ours. He came into the locker room with a tray full of Fireball shots, and he hands me one. And so, like, whenever I was a drinker, I was like, strictly just Jameson. That's all because I'm one of those, you know, because I'm a bartender too, you know, that's my shoot job as a bartender. That's what I've been doing for a long time. So like I'm very much, if somebody were to ask me how to avoid a hangover, I would tell you, cut out the sugars in your drinks and drink the same liquor throughout the whole night and you'll be good to go, and drink a lot of water and make sure you eat a little bit. But so that's what I always kept with me. So I'm looking at the Fireball, I'm like, I really don't want to take this because I plan on drinking tonight. To WrestleMania Sunday, I'm like, if I start my night like this, it might mess me up. And the whole locker room started yelling Mach, and Brent, of course, started it, and Brent was yelling it really loud, and so I finally just took it. Fast forward to the next year, I'm in Orlando for WrestleMania weekend, and I'm at Kevin Nash's party, and we're sitting in VIP, and I'm hanging out with, he went by 450 at the time, but Mecha Wolf is what he goes by now. I was hanging out with him, Lacey Lane, and Lindsay Dorado. We were all hanging out. And Lindsay, he was like, hey, do y'all want some shots? I'm going to go get some shots. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, anything but tequila. I wasn't thinking, right? Like, I just was like, I wasn't super picky at the moment. I was like, I just don't want tequila. He comes back with the tray of Fireball shots. I'm like, I'm stuck taking Fireball again. And, like, I should have just said no Fireball, but I didn't think about it. So I ended up taking it. And then, of course, being really close with Brent, and I kind of just, like, told him about that. And I even filmed a video, too, which I still have on my phone, of us taking the shot. He just, like, made it a point to hold me, like, accountable to it. The next year after that, I was in New Orleans for Mania weekend. And my sister happened to be in New Orleans that weekend for some unrelated, and we went to the casino together. And yeah, she came up to me with the Fireball shot because she knew of the whole thing, and I took it. Yeah, and then I took it, and I absolutely regretted it that night. Like, that was the night where I think that was the first time I'd actually ever blacked out from drinking, was that night. Aside from maybe, like, as an adult anyway, I might have blacked out in my late teens or something, but like as an adult, like, first time I ever just forgot half the night, and it was, and that night was a mess. Like that, but it was a fun night. But yeah, it was. I ended up throwing up outside of a car, and it got us pulled over. Yeah. Luckily, we didn't get arrested or anything. Like, the driver was good and all that. I wasn't, but yeah, it was a typical New Orleans night. But the next day I woke up and I ended up going to, like, I think I went to WrestleCon to work a table or something, and I was so miserable. I was like, I do not like this feeling. But I mean, I had 2 bookings that New Orleans Mania weekend, and because of the Louisiana commissions, those shows ended up like folding like right before like we went out there. So I literally had no wrestling bookings, nothing. I just had that WrestleCon appearance that one morning, and then that was it. And I was like, I just partied the whole weekend with the people I was closest to in my life, and it was great. Like, loved it. But yeah, and then I did a Fireball shot in 2019 in New York. I did it on my own, just went and did it, and sent the video to Brent, of course. And that was at a Wale Mania, I want to say. Yeah, and then that was it. That was the last Fireball shot I took. was 2019 because again 2020 derailed everything else. So
Right.
and now I haven't drank in like 2 years, so I'll definitely not be doing another fireball shot in my life.
You just mentioned it. You are 2 years sober right now. Just recently you hit that accolade. What does that kind of mean to you?
It means a lot to me. I mean, it was definitely the pandemic that really, and a lot of people can say this, like the pandemic absolutely just derailed people when it came to drinking. Like alcohol sales went up, like I think the statistic was like 252% or something like that within the first month of shutdowns. Because what else was there to do, right? Like my job was an essential. I didn't want to find another job because, I mean, let's just be honest. Like, I mean, it took me. Luckily, let me rewind a bit. So luckily, whenever the world shut down and we all lost our jobs, I had pro wrestling, because I saw so many of my service industry people like suffer because to get unemployment, at least here in the state of Texas, to get unemployment here took like a month and a half because the websites were overlogged. They kept crashing. The phone lines were, people would be on hold for 2 hours and then it would disconnect, and it was just a nightmare. But because I had wrestling, you know, I was able to like sell my shirts. I was able to sell my promo photos and other merch and everything like that. And luckily, like, and gratefully, not only was I selling my merchandise, but people, you know, they saw my PayPal and stuff like that, and they would donate me money. I had a couple people who, or they were stable enough financially that they were able to help me out a lot. And I didn't ask for donations at all. I was like, I want to sell promo photos. Here's my Venmo and da-da-da. I'm like, I want to sell my t-shirts. Here's my Pro Wrestling Tees account. You know, I wasn't trying to like ask for donations, but I absolutely like, I made collectively with those and my merchandise for in the first like 2 weeks, I made like $4,000. I'm like, that helped me so much, and I am so grateful for that. But you know, I was at home instead of getting another job because I didn't want to lose my bar job. You know, the bar I was at, I ended up being there for like 4 years. That was like my home to me. Bartending, I'm sorry, it's better income than a lot of the essential jobs that we're wanting people, like, you know, to risk yourself in the middle of a pandemic to go work at a grocery store for $12 an hour. If that, like, that to me was not worth it. I didn't want to get sick. I didn't want to bring it back home with my already immune compromised roommate. So I'm like, you know, I'm just going to stay home and, you know, handle it out that way and just rely on unemployment. But I was able to get my back pay on unemployment, and then I collected unemployment for like another month, and then we finally reopened. I was like, okay, thank God I can go back to work. But yeah, during that time, I was drinking a lot. I was very sad. Because like I had mentioned earlier, like I was on a huge momentum with my wrestling career finally. You know, I had things in the past, terrible relationships. I had, or particularly one, but I had that, and legal issues hold me back and everything. And then it's like I finally was getting a momentum where I was like having tryout matches with WWE. I had that show, you know, the AEW booking. I had my 2 trips out to London. I was like actively flying to a new state at least once, twice a month. Like I was all over the place. And you know, I mentioned that I was supposed to be in Amsterdam. I actually had Japan in the works too for 2020. Like I let my emotions get the best of me, and I drank them away. And then when I went back to work, I was in a very toxic environment with the bar I was at. We were able to drink on the clock. There was no problems with that. Like, and I had coworkers who would drink more than they should, and they wouldn't be held accountable for it. They, like, that was the environment I was an enabling environment is where I was working. And but I mean, ultimately it was my decision at the end of the day to drink as much as I did. But you know, like that's just where I was at, and I finally decided like enough is enough. And when I decided to stop drinking, I worked a shift at that bar, and then went home. And then the next day when I woke up that afternoon, I was told that the bar is closed. It's done. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, that to me, I think was a huge sign of, hey, you're in the right direction, you know, because it's like, if I had stayed working at that same bar that was enabling, like, my behavior, I don't know how long I would have stayed sober, if I would have stayed sober at all. So to be able to get pulled out of that, and I ended up going to a new bar that was very supportive of my sobriety and the perfect fit for me. Looking back, you know, it saved my life when I stopped drinking. So I've lost family to drinking. I lost my dad to it, you know, and his parents died from it before I was even born. I didn't know my grandparents on his side. His brother passed away from it. My sister, she's now almost 6 years sober. She had a drinking problem. You know, so it's like I knew she was noticing I was following down the same path, and I wanted to stop. I didn't want to disappoint her, you know, because her and I are best friends. So it's like, I know if one of us were to go, especially at a young age, like the other would not recover, you know. So it was a lot behind my decision. You know, it was affecting my wrestling. It got me out of shape. You know, like it killed my motivation. I wasn't the same person I was before the pandemic when it came to my wrestling career and everything like that. So like, I think that was also another huge thing with me, stepping back from wrestling and everything like that, was just trying to get my mind and my body and my life right and get it back. You know, and all that on top of a medical condition I got diagnosed with last year. Like, I'm just trying to live a healthier, better life. I'm not trying to die young. So,
Right.
But yeah, it means a lot to me.
All right. Well, something I would imagine would mean a lot to you as well was actually getting in the ring with Victoria, Tara, for the people that watch TNA. Obviously a big name, well-respected name. What was it like getting in the ring with her?
It was a dream come true. I mean, growing up, my favorites were Trish Stratus, Lita, and Victoria. They were like my top three. They were like the girls I was like, you know what, like I love them. Like, you know, they for me as a little girl watching wrestling, I looked up to them the most. And so I remember when I wrestled Victoria, that show, what was crazy about it was, first I worked at that venue. So that was at Gas Monkey Live, which was a huge music venue at the time here in Dallas. They closed during the pandemic. I used to bartend there, and it was a weird situation, but I pretty much got wrongly fired from that place about maybe 6 or 7 months before that show happened. So to be able to wrestle in that kind of show in front of that crowd was a personal fulfillment for me. That was before I even knew I was going to wrestle Victoria, but that's where I'm going, is that I showed up thinking I was going to wrestle Robin, who ended up being my tag partner in that match. But it was scheduled to be me and her in a singles, and then I think Rachel Ellering and Victoria were supposed to be in a singles. But Rachel Ellering had wrestled the night before, and she had gotten hurt, but not like severely injured, but she like tweaked something. And so she talked to the promoter, I guess, like as I was on my way up there or whatever. And she was like, hey, like, if you could put me in a tag match instead, if it's possible. Like, she didn't want to take on the weight of a full-on singles match. She didn't want to, like, you know, risk injury or whatever.
Right.
And so the promoter rewrote the whole, the card for her. And I show up, and he was just like, so, you know, Robin and I were kind of talking a bit about our match. And then the promoter came up to us, and he's like, hey, like, scratch y'all's match. Y'all are going to be in a tag match. So it's like, he's like, it's going to be you both against Rachel and Victoria. And like Robin and I looked at each other like, oh, what? Like, I was like, and then I walked away. I was like, I'm actually wrestling Victoria. Like, I was happy just to be there in the locker room with her. I was also happy to sit next to her at the merch table, and I did that on purpose because I'm like, hey, like, there's a spot next to her. I don't know who is slacking here, but I'm putting my stuff next to her. Like, because she had a line all the way, like, she had a long line, and a lot of them came to me too, and they're like, you know, we'll buy a photo from you too. I'm like, thank you very much. Like, but to experience all that, just in general, I was so excited about. But to hear that I'm going to be wrestling her too, I was so starstruck. I was like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. And she ended up calling it in the back that she wanted to give me the Widow's Peak. And I'm like, oh, she's like, are you okay with that? I'm like, I am so happy with that. Like, I mean, of course I didn't like mark out or anything, but in my head I was. But I was like, yeah, I'll take it. No problem. Like, I don't mind putting you over. No, I was all about putting her over. I was so happy to do it. And, you know, so I just remember, getting through the match, was super excited about it. And we were all looking for a place to eat and have drinks, and because I used to work there, I was like, hey, like, there's this place down the street, their kitchen's open until 1:30 and they close at 2, like, let's go. And it was the Humperdinks down the road, and yeah, like, just had a great time. And her and I have seen each other a handful of times since then. We've become friends, we've shared each other's phone numbers, all of that. Like, she, again, another person I really wish the best for. She's a sweetheart, and to be able to call her a friend, like, if I could go back in time and tell, like, my 10, 11, 12-year-old self, like, hey, you're going to be friends with her one day, like, she would absolutely lose her mind. Yeah, Victoria's great. I love her. Lisa, Tara, whoever, whatever people remember her as, but she's amazing. Names. I love her. Yeah, all the names.
A big name, an interesting name, a name that you emulated for a match. Can you tell us about that time you were the Great Muta?
Oh, that was so fun. That's the one thing so MPX, I am unsure if they still do it once a year around the holidays. I know they were doing it consistently. Like, every year their Christmas show would be all the talent, like, all the storylines and bullcrap aside, all the talent would just dress up as their favorite wrestler or a wrestler they wanted to dress up as or whatever, and just, all mimic it and everything. And my favorite wrestling entrance of all time is the Genie Lamp entrance with Tajiri in the ring. Like, in Japan, like, that entrance is so fire. And, like, I knew for a fact I couldn't replicate that gear, like the full armor, helmet, everything. I was like, yeah, I don't have the money like that. But I was like, I can emulate his classic look. Easy, simple, the red and black. It matched my two-piece wrestling gear I already had, so I just wore my top, obviously, because I'm not going to wrestle topless. And I went and picked up those red pants to wear over my kick pads and stuff, and I was so bummed out that the promoter wouldn't let me color the mist. He didn't want me coloring my mist. He didn't want it to stain the canvas because they had like a light blue canvas at the time. I was just like, ugh, lame. But it was great. Also, he wouldn't let me, because I got that Genie Lamp from Target, and it's like a little piggy bank. It's like a Disney piggy bank or whatever. So it's glass, and he wouldn't let me throw that down either because he didn't want to deal with the glass mess. And I'm just like, because he didn't want to get it tracked in the ring, which makes sense. But I'm like, whatever. I had one of my stable mates, my tag partners at the time. He was the one that like went out in the smoke and like put it down. But I was wanting him to crash it down like the original entrance like was. But again, couldn't do that. But oh man, it was just so fun to just not have to like worry about putting myself over, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have to have that like, oh, I hope this comes across as what I want it to come across. Like, I was just able to just like have fun and play around, and it was a great experience. And I wish I'd done it more than just that one time with MPX, but it was a fun time. I loved it.
All right. Well, maybe this was a fun time for you. Maybe not such a fun time for the individual. Can you tell us about running Kenny over with a car?
Oh, that was like, oh, okay, so by far one of my favorite experiences in my wrestling career was being part of Down to Fight. I was the first of the 3 initial members of the group. It was me, Andy Dalton, and Scott McKenzie, and the way Richard Hill set us up for MPX and everything like that, on top of all of our creative minds, of course, it made DTF so fun to be a part of. And then we ended up adding Brent McKenzie into the group, and that's when Brent and I became really close friends, honestly, was when we started working together with DTF. And we all started off as huge heels. We started off as that huge heel group, and then ended up turning around and being like the huge faces, but like we were still able to be like the anti-hero kind of like personality, and it was so fun. And I feel like that was one of the defining moments of DTF, and just how crazy we could get was the fact that I just come in with a car and I just absolutely destroy Kenny.
You
And
killed Kenny.
yeah, pretty much. And that was like peak DTF time for us, and it really just like, showed the fans and it showed the promotion and everybody that like we don't fuck around. Like we are legit down to fight, and if I have to hit you with a car to prove that point, I'm going to do it. Like, and it was just such a fun time. I still share that video and I still tag Kenny in it too. I'm like, hey, remember when I did this to you? Like, I don't know, it's been like 8 years. I don't care. Like I'm still reminding him of that every chance I get.
All right. Now, can you tell us about your tattoos and if there is any significant meaning behind them?
Okay. The somewhat half sleeve I have going on, it's a horoscope tattoo. I plan on adding on to it and filling it out more, and I've been saying that, but tattoos aren't cheap, and it's like, funny enough, the majority of the tattoos I have I got when I was broke. I was like just done with my money and young at the time. I was like, hey, I have $400 to my name. Let me spend $250 of that on a tattoo. But now that I'm more responsible with my money, even if I have it, I'm like, I can't like wrap my head around treating myself like that. But anywho, so I have a tribal piece and it's a bull. I honestly and originally didn't want it to be as dark as it was, but the initial artist I went to did a terrible job, so it was like a cover up. That's why it's as dark as it is. And I got the poppy flowers around it. They're often mistaken as roses, but they're poppy flowers, and I got them because it's a horoscope tattoo, and they say poppy flower is the flower of the Taurus. But also, growing up, I grew up in a VFW post, and the VFW post, they always have like, they always had these like little fake poppy flowers, like just placed on the tables and stuff like that had the VFW tag and the VFW, like the number on there and everything. And, so it just resonates with me, the poppy flowers. And I thought it would be a really good, colorful addition onto my arm. I have the Texas that's connected to it, my collarbone, like shoulder area. And, just born and raised in Texas, like, I always wanted a Texas tattoo on me, and later on, I added in the rising sun, because I was looking at the Texas piece, and I was like, I kind of want some color, and was like, I want to add that color pop into there, and I was like, okay, well, the rising sun and having the sun be in the DFW part of my Texas, I thought, was a neat addition to, like, represent my mom's, like, Japanese heritage and everything. I have a forearm tattoo of my dad's family crest. My sister and I, we always grew up with it framed up on our wall, and it had the crest has our last name underneath it, but we didn't want our last name on us, so we just got the crest itself. But her and I got it on Father's Day like 6 years ago, I think. We always wanted to get it done, so we got that together. I have the Monster Reborn. I don't know if any of y'all, or if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but
Yes.
There's a Monster Reborn card, and it's pretty much like, you revive a dead monster from your graveyard and you put it back, bring it back to life. And so that's kind of like the message of it. And I've always wanted it since I was a kid. I always liked, the idea of like, oh, if I get that, because it's a beautiful like piece, the crystal that's on the card, it's really pretty. But I was like, I think that would be a cool tattoo to kind of signify like, coming back from the dead, like you can, at your lowest low, you can always come back from it. And I actually got that tattoo in the middle of the pandemic on the back of my neck. And then I also, my very first tattoo when I was 16 is a mudkip on my foot, and it's a friendship tattoo. It's my friend, she has a Pikachu on her foot, and I have a mudkip, but she moved to, her and I became really close friends my freshman year of high school. And she was only there for about a year, and she had to move back home to Tennessee, and we've always kept in touch. Her and I still talk to each other to this day. But when she came to visit, like a year after she had moved, when her and I were 16, my brother did tattoos and, kind of joked around. He's like, oh, I'll give you all a tattoo. I don't care. And I'm like, actually, like, we will do a tattoo. And like her and I talked about it, and yeah, it's just a small little Pokemon on her foot. And yeah, like, it's a random tattoo, but I love it, and I'm never going to get rid of it. She's always going to mean the world to me. So, but yeah, that's all the ink I have. Kind of wish I had more to talk about, but eventually I'll get some more.
Absolutely. And I mean, Monster Reborn, one of the more iconic, cards in Yu-Gi-Oh. It doesn't matter, how hard, difficult it is to summon a monster, but Monster Reborn can re-bring that monster back in. It was
Right.
definitely one of the more iconic moments in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree for sure. And I mean, I never played anything beyond the first generation. I only played when I was a teenager, but that the tattoo idea always resonated with me. So I finally was able to get it, and yeah.
Oh yeah. Alright. I think it's time for the colossal question. Let's say that they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh Lord, you should have prepped me for this question because there's so much. Ah Lord, I am the first 3 songs of my. You said for my life?
Yes, the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack.
I don't know if I could really put them in a particular order. I'd have to say I want to throw Iris by Goo Goo Dolls in there. That song's always been very nostalgic to me, and I know that song was put in a love movie and whatnot, but the lyrics, like to me, I have like my own kind of like personal like connection with it, and like I kind of like interpret the lyrics and how I feel about my dad passing away, because he passed when I was young. The song reminds me of him, and obviously losing a father at a young age is never an easy experience. So that's definitely like I saw it recently on Facebook. There was like a meme that was like, what divided your life from before and after? And that was definitely like my first before and after moment of my life, was how it was before my dad passed away and how it was after. So I'd have to say that song. Following that, I'd have to say Keep Your Head Up by Tupac. That was the one song of his. Like, I always grew up listening to him just because my brother is a huge fan of hip hop and he's a bit older than me too. But that was the song that really got me in love with him, and it was one of the songs that kept my head up, as the song says. And I think the third one would probably be Rise Above the Sentiment by Slow Work. That song, I mean, it kind of says in itself in the title, but it's by Soil Work is my favorite band. They're from Sweden. They're a Swedish metal band, often synonymous with like In Flames. They have a lot of music that really just, it's about triumph and getting through hard times and everything, and that's what I don't like about people's misconception that heavy metal is always angry. It's like Soil Works is the furthest from that. Like, while you do get the emotional like anger out by listening to it, obviously, because it is heavy, a lot of their lyrics are really about overcoming like demons and hard times and everything like that. So I would say that would be my my third edition. I always listen to that song, especially during sobriety and everything like that. And my very first graduation I had this past weekend and all that, like I lean on that song and their music in general a lot. So I would probably have to say those 3 songs.
Hell yeah. It's definitely a solid 3 picks, to say the least.
Thank you.
Now on to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I don't like it. Like, I understand the sweet and salty complex or whatever. I don't like it. I don't like the texture of cooked pineapple. If I'm eating pineapple, I like it just fresh, raw cut. So when it's like warm and soggy on a pizza, I just don't like it.
Okay, so we are very anti-pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, nope. Jalapenos on pizza, though, all day. But pineapple, no. Can't do it.
Alright. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Graduating law school. That is, because the degree I just got this past weekend is an associate's. Like I said, I've never graduated before. I dropped out of high school. And so to go to law school, at least in the state of Texas, well, to be fair, in most states, the only state that doesn't require it is California. But you have to have a bachelor's degree to get into law school. So I'm starting fresh, right? Got an associate's in applied science and paralegal studies, so I can get into the legal field as a paralegal. And then I am about to start this fall at University of North Texas to get my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And then afterwards, I plan on going to law school. So depending on if I do summer courses or not, which I probably will be, collectively I should graduate law school 4.5 to 5 years. I always thought that maybe once I get more stable in my paralegal career and whatnot, and because that's the thing is that like the stability financially has been up and down with me. So that's also why I've been kind of like stepped back from wrestling. So maybe once I get more stable in my legal career, is when I'm thinking about coming back to wrestling, where I have like a more stable schedule, steady income, better income. And, so maybe in wrestling, I might be in a good spot then too. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's pretty much when I think 5 years, I think I'm going to be done with law school. I'm going to be an attorney.
Maybe you could intern for Smart Mark Sterling until then.
There was a seminar that I wish I was able to attend that I was referred to like 6 months ago. Somebody referred me to this seminar that was happening in Dallas, and it was a woman attorney hosting it, and she literally said anybody in sports law with professional wrestling and like medicine and stuff, like it was like a very niche legal seminar that had to do with like pro wrestling, which is so strange to me. And I'm like, well, this is very niche, but I'd like to attend it, but I couldn't because only licensed attorneys could attend it. So that being said, I'm like, if I could, like, I mean, if I could rope my legal career somehow with wrestling, like, why not? I do want to do criminal defense, but before I become an attorney, I'm also going to be a personal investigator. That's what started my path on this paralegal journey, because that's a really good way to segue into PI work. Be a personal investigator for WWE or something like that. I would absolutely be down for that. I'm actually friends with a PI that works for the Dallas Cowboys, so I know the sports industry really does utilize a good PI when their talent gets in trouble. So, I mean, you never know, honestly.
Okay. And what is one match of yours that you would recommend people go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about as a pro wrestler?
I mean, considering it's been a while and that I would say honestly my most fun matches I've had and where I felt most comfortable and I felt I had the best chemistry are either any match I have with DTF, whether it be with Brent, with our mixed tag, or the other former members we had. Especially it being all at MPX. Like, MPX is my wrestling home. I love MPX so much. I feel like anytime I'm in the ring at MPX, I always have like an advantage as opposed to other places just because I'm so comfortable there. Any DTF match at MPX, absolutely hands down. And I would say any match I have with Laynie Luck. I feel very comfortable. Our chemistry together in the ring is awesome. Any chance I've ever been able to have to wrestle her or to have her out at a show or anything like that, I do it because she's great. She's a wonderful talent, and people need to fucking look at her right now because she's doing amazing things, and I am absolutely proud of her. My matches with her, I feel like, are solid too. I mean, they're great, and you can tell that we love each other in that ring. Even when we're hitting each other, it's like, my matches with her are so fun. I know there's one in particular that is good quality, like video-wise and stuff like that. Her and I wrestled at a ladies' night out for Booker T over in Houston. That should be pretty easy to find on YouTube since they have a really good. It was title match. I think it's their page that has it, but that's a good match too.
Perfect. And I will grab that match from YouTube, and I will put a link to it in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox for anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom. This is our speed run. This is our speed round, our bonus round, the run where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Yes.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Worst wrestler.
Oh, don't do that to me. I honestly don't have an answer to that question. I really don't. My mind's going blank.
Would you like the default answer?
Wait, what? Sorry?
Would you like the default answer?
Sure.
You have chosen Eva Marie.
No. You know, I would choose... Yeah, no. Whatever. That's a default answer. Fine.
Your main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Rhea Ripley.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Honestly, probably Rhea Ripley, too. I like Motionless in White.
Okay. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Not real.
We would have also accepted tastes great on toast. Squash, vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit. It has seeds.
I know that. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But it's weird to see it as a fruit. When I think fruit, I think like watermelon or banana or something. But yeah, okay, I didn't know that.
Sounds like they're not teaching you the right things in college.
Well, good thing I'm not studying culinary. I'm studying law. So.
New Japan wrestler Taichi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question: what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Whatever you're comfortable in.
So to each their own.
Huh?
So to each their own.
To each their own. If you want to show more cheek, by all means, go ahead. But as long as it's comfortable and as long as it doesn't malfunction or rip or anything, wear what you want.
All right. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
I have not.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Of course, James. I appreciate you.
And once again, where can we find you on social media?
Instagram is the best, most consistent choice. And it's going to be Machi_slams. I do plan on being even more active than I am on there right now. Possibly thinking of like doing a content creator thing. So keep an eye out for that. And like I said, if I do end up coming back into wrestling, Instagram will definitely be the first place I will announce it and talk about it on. So give me a follow there.
And you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all her social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Give her a damn follow and buy a damn shirt.
Yes, please, and thank you.
Yes, it feeds her cats. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, but on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, but on X, Reddit, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
Okay.
For our special guest Machiko, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment!
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys, we appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.